So guys, with the update this past week, there were brand new changes to the sensitivity settings for keyboard and mouse. As you guys know, for plenty of seasons, controller players have had the option to choose between their building and their editing sensitivity, and they would separate that from their normal aiming sensitivity. Keyboard players have wanted this for a while, and finally in last week's update, they actually have it. In today's video, I want to go over exactly how the new sensitivity system works, how you guys should change, and how you guys should adjust your normal aiming sensitivity to these brand new changes. Now be sure to use code SonataYT in the Fortnite item shop if you guys do want to support me. Let's hop right into this video. So to start off, I would like to go over the brand new building and editing sensitivity and just generally explain how it works. So as you guys know, now there's going to be 3 separate sensitivities that your sensitivities are separated into. There's going to be your main sensitivities, which are aim, building, and editing. And then obviously there's going to be scoped and ADS sensitivity, but that's not as important for this video considering that nothing in the new update really affects those sensitivities. Essentially what the building and the editing sensitivity do is they take your normal main aiming sensitivity and they multiply a certain proportion by that and increase your in-game sensitivity to that level. So let's say that I have a sensitivity of 3 and I have a building sensitivity of 110%. That means that my building sensitivity is then going to be 3.3 rather than my aiming sensitivity of a normal 3. The same system applies to the editing sensitivity so that it's easily scalable and easy to understand for many players. Obviously, you're going to be having the X and Y normal sensitivity, but there's just going to be one building and editing sensitivity toggle. However, in general, I would still highly recommend that you guys try to keep your X and Y sensitivity on the normal aiming the same, but then you can obviously start experimenting with this building and editing sensitivity, and I'm going to explain how you guys should set those right now. So initially, I would recommend that you set your building sensitivity higher than your editing, but still definitely increase both. There's pretty much no point in having them both set at 100, considering that it's going to be much beneficial to you if you guys actually increase the sensitivities for your building and your editing. For me personally, I have altered with these settings. I've played around with them for quite some time. I have my building sensitivity at 115% and then my editing sensitivity at 110%. I generally wouldn't recommend that you guys try to go over 120, considering at that point it gets really fast and strays away too far from your normal sensitivity to make a very noticeable difference that could really mess with your gameplay, but I would definitely recommend you increase both in order to make editing and building generally easier in your game. The benefits of both increasing your sensitivity and also playing on different sensitivities overall far outweigh the cons of doing that. Higher building sensitivity is really good for faster reactions if you need them, and faster and wider turns while building. So for example, if you're rotating and somebody happens to be shooting at you, a higher building sensitivity is going to allow you to turn around, block them off, and box up much quicker. Also, if you guys are trying to do a retake or you're trying to move around your builds much easier, you guys can actually do that pretty easily by making wider turns and doing easier jumps and movements using this new sensitivity system. The higher editing sensitivity, on the other hand, is really good for more crosshair movement and less general movement around the area, so less likely to mess up edits. Basically what I mean by that is that if you guys have an edit that you're trying to make, when you select an edit, it moves around the tiles of the build very easily, and the more you increase your editing sensitivity, the faster it's going to do so and the less margin of error that you actually have. Therefore, it's actually going to make your edits a lot more consistent, a lot more fast, a much easier way to edit that a lot of players need to definitely start taking advantage of. Overall, for the system of sensitivity, I'd definitely recommend that you guys try to change both, meaning your building and your editing sensitivity. Increase them both, but don't go past 120 and make your building definitely higher than your editing. Making your building higher than your editing will generally make it a lot easier for you guys to experiment and generally just have a better idea of how to actually move around. And it'll just naturally be better with the natural flow of the game, in my opinion. However, once again, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, so you guys can mess around with it and definitely see what works for you. However, this is one thing that I definitely stand by. The next tip's gonna be how you guys should change your aiming sensitivity. Now, as you guys know, since there are 3 sensitivities and they are all separate, I would recommend that you try to lower your aiming sensitivity generally. Ideally, you should do this before you actually set your building and your editing sensitivity, as to make sure that you're matching stuff exactly the way that you want it. I would recommend a lower sensitivity because of a couple different reasons, primarily to improve your aim because it allows for more control and less crosshair movement. This will allow for easier tracking, better flicking, better target switching, better general locking onto different opponents. A slower sensitivity in the past has generally been shown to have a much better percentage of aiming rather than a higher sensitivity. There obviously are exceptions like Mr. Savage, Benji Fishy when he played, but players that used to play like X8, players that have a really low sensitivity, some of the older pro players like Bizzle, Zate, when they all used to play, they all would have extremely low sensitivities and have some of the best aim in the entire game. Having all of these slow sensitivities not only benefits you generally with your aim, it also benefits your general movement around the map, because the less you move, the more you can actually focus on the area around you. If you guys do need to make any faster moves as well. You can just quickly whip out your build blueprints and just move around. I think that's the real big benefit of these changes. The overall movement is going to be a lot more easy to control with different options for how exactly you guys can start turning and moving your character. With the slower sensitivity though, you can have better shotgun and tracking because you won't overshoot shots, which is pretty common with a higher sensitivity. Oftentimes I'll see people try to shoot someone, but then the crosshair will go a little bit too far past it and then not hit their opponent at all. But I'd also recommend that you guys remember not to lower it too much so that you are not undershooting shots. Basically, if you undershoot shots, that means that if somebody moves too quickly for your sensitivity and your sensitivity is too low to actually catch up to them with your crosshair, you're going to be undershooting that opponent. Generally, undershooting shots is not very common. However, sometimes if you have too low of sensitivity, it really won't work. The example for me is I lowered my sensitivity from 2.6 to 2.3. A very small change, but still noticeable in the regards of aiming. And overall, I'd recommend that you guys just generally get used to aiming on a lower sensitivity as to benefit not only you, but also your general hand-eye coordination and aim control. But anyways, guys, those are all the different changes on the new sensitivity system and what I would recommend for all of you guys out there to do exactly do. I really enjoyed making this video and I really enjoyed this update because I think this update's really going to revolutionize exactly how keyboard and mouse is played. Keyboard and mouse was already a powerhouse before this video and before this update. However, now it's going to be extremely powerful as they have more options for movement, more options for turning, building, editing, everything. I think most players are going to start making switches from controller if they do play it over to keyboard and mouse. There are obviously benefits of controller, but still, I think keyboard and mouse is definitely going to be improving due to these changes. But that's about it for this video, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.